The regular season is just days away, but we've got questions that need to be answered. Can Bam Adebayo regain his all-star form? Which young player has the best season? And when does Tyler Herro return? We'll answer this and more on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. However you might be tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Wes Goldberg, host of Locked On NBA Daily and Real GM Radio. I'm here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. We have a great show for you today. We're previewing the regular season with 5 burning questions. These are questions that we still have about this team after the preseason. Yes, we know we're recording this Thursday night for Friday. There's technically a preseason game tonight, but it's the Friday episode, so we're doing it now. And as the Heat head into the regular season, there are still some questions we have through 5 preseason games that have been unanswered, including what we know about Tyler Herro's return and when the front office might make its next decision about this roster. But let's jump in with our first question here, David, which is, will Bam Adebayo be an all-star this season? I think this is a very important question for Miami's season, for Bam's season. He missed the all-star team last year. It was kind of a down first half for him. A little bit of a better second half. Not that anybody was paying attention to the Heat at that point. But it's been a pretty rough preseason so far for Bam, averaging 7 points on 22% shooting. I'll make a bold prediction right now that he won't average that in the regular season. The question is, how much better will he be, and can he actually return to the All-Star game?
I think his chances are pretty good. I know that might be a lukewarm answer, but it's not that I expect him to have this monster season. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed at what we've seen so far in the preseason. I know it's not necessarily a reflection of what he's capable of in the regular season, but he needs to be better. He just hasn't lived up to the expectations. There's no more Jimmy hangover. There's no more trying to fit in or understand. This is his team. Tyler isn't here. This is his team. He needs to carry this group. And while he does so many other little things well, he has to be more productive on the offensive end. And I think we just talked about this in terms of the general manager's survey and how he's viewed around the league, or at least partially viewed around the league. And I don't think he's going to get that respect anymore. He just can't expect to be slotted into an all-star spot based on a reputation that he hasn't necessarily lived up to at some time. Last season was a struggle, especially in the first half. There's no chance that he can do that again. He cannot take that risk of saying, you know what, I'm going to take it easy for the first couple of months of the season, or maybe not be fully engaged, and then turn it up a notch after after the All-Star break. This has to be him having a bounce-back season from the get. It just has to really be able to be locked in there and be engaged and carry this team, especially without Tyler Herro. You can't count on Norman Powell. This is his first year with the group. Andrew Wiggins isn't that guy. Nobody else on this roster is going to carry this team. It has to fall on Bam's shoulders, and he has to live up to his expectations. So I'm going to say that he will be an all-star because I think he understands what's at stake, and I think he's going to be able to take it to that next level. It might not be enough to satisfy some fans. That doesn't matter. As long as he's putting up 20 points per game and doing everything else as well as he does, he's going to get the all-star nod, even over some other players in the Eastern Conference.
So he had made the all-star game twice in the 2 years previous to last year, right? So he makes it in 2023, he makes it in 2024. He had made it previously in 2020. A 3-time all-star in 9 seasons, short of like the perennial all-star type. And the only reason I say that is because he has to earn it still. And I think last year proved that, right? A little bit of a lukewarm first half. He didn't get the nod. Now, the stats that got him in to the All-Star game the last 2 times was basically 20 points per game on better than 50% shooting. He was at 18 points per game on 48% shooting for the entirety of last season. And as we know, it was less than that. It was worse before the All-Star game when people were actually voting on that thing. So, he has to just, I don't know that he necessarily has to improve, right? He doesn't have to do the thing that Heat fans want him to do, which is be more aggressive and become a 22 or a 23 point per game scorer. We would love that. I think the Heat need that for other reasons.
Yes.
But For Bam to just get to the All-Star game, which is what the question is, I don't think he needs to be quite that. He just needs to get back to your point, 19, 20 points per game, but the shooting efficiency has to be there. And that's my major, I think, concern after this preseason. It still just feels like he doesn't know where his spot is in this offense. When it was a couple of years of, yep, take as many mid-range jumpers as you'd like. It was good for Bam because he was a two-time All-Star. It was bad for Miami's offense that couldn't get out of the bottom 10 in offensive rating. And now that this Heat team has tried desperately to do whatever it can, they threw away the offense 2 years ago and started a new 5-out system. That didn't work. Eric Spoelstra scrapped that whole thing, started a new up-tempo pace thing, and that hasn't necessarily worked for Bam in the preseason so far. It's been like 2 years of, okay, so where's Bam going to get his offense now? He's still an all-world defender. He's probably worthy of an all-star consideration just based off of his defense alone, even though nobody plays defense in the all-star game. That's not the point. But there has to be a threshold that he hits offensively. And to me, that's basically 20-ish points per game on better than 50% shooting. And I don't know where the easy buckets come from in this offense. He doesn't score at the rim as much as he used to. They don't have, ever since Kyle Lowry left, they don't really have a guy who throws lobs to him that makes it easy for him as a pick and roll finisher. He did not rate highly as a pick and roll finisher last season, and that's not surprising. I don't even know if it's necessarily his fault, right? Because they just don't have that traditional point guard to get him in those spots. So can Davion Mitchell be that guy? Can Drew Smith be a little bit of that? Can Kaspersky Akachonis maybe unlock Bam a little bit like we saw him unlock Ware in that one preseason game? I think these are worthwhile questions and could have a lot to do with Bam's all-star candidacy.
Does he make the team?
I think he does.
Yeah.
I think he does. The other thing I'm wondering, he talked about being inspired by A'ja Wilson. I'm still waiting for him to just go out there and try to do an A'ja Wilson impression. She's a multiple-time MVP, goated in the in women's basketball. You would think, I don't know, that Bam would just go out there and be like, I kind of want to show A'ja what I can do. And it just doesn't, I know that's not the way Bam plays, right? And that's part of why we love him. But it's also I would love to just see him just try to be that guy for a month straight, especially if it's the first month.
Yes, that would be nice. It's so weird using that as a comparison. And I get the feeling he's probably going to hear a lot of it now that it's totally public knowledge. I wonder how much he'll hear about it around arenas, around the league, age is better than you, that kind of thing. I don't know. I don't necessarily want to make the comparison myself just because I'm sure he's not listening to the podcast, but at the same time, I don't want him to have to go through that as he goes to other arenas around the league and hear that, that your girlfriend's better than you. I mean, that's got to take something away.
He seems very proud of her. I think he would welcome all of that stuff. He'd be like, yeah, she is. By the way, there is zero argument. She is one of the greatest WNBA players of all time. Bam is a borderline Hall of Famer. Maybe, we're talking about him maybe making the All-Star game.
50% chance of I'd say 25% chance of him being a Hall of Famer at this point.
Yeah, and again, fringe all-star guy versus one of the greatest to ever do it in her sport. I don't think that's a crazy thing to be like, yeah, your girlfriend's more successful than you are. Of the young three, Nikola Jović, Kel'el Ware, and Jaime Jaquez Jr., which has the best season of that group? This is our second burning question, David.
That's a good question. We talked about Jaime having a bounce back because he looks like he's going to flourish off the bench, although I do think that he's still in contention for a starting spot. We saw what the team looked like with him starting as the de facto point guard, and it looked pretty good. And I think he looks a little bit more aggressive. He looks healthier. And we know that he was probably battling a series of maladies over the course of the year that sapped away some of his efficiency. And he looks like he's got it figured out. He looks like he's just in better shape. He talked to us on media day about the fact that he was really dedicated this summer to being healthy and getting into better shape for the upcoming season, and he certainly backed that up over the course of the preseason. So I have high expectations for him. We've talked about Nico a lot.
Wait, before we get off Jaime, maybe I make this question really simple. If Jaime averages 15 points per game this year, is he the answer? Is that it?
Good question. Because I don't know if you can put it in that context necessarily. I'm frankly right now the answer is Kel'el Ware because he's going to get the bulk of the playing time. I think he's going to be the backup. I think he's going to be the guy who is there for a substantial amount of playing time. He might start too. I really don't know how the opening day lineup is going to look, And that being the case, I think he's going to get a lot of opportunity, and they're going to look to him to put up the biggest numbers. And of those three, I think he's most likely to do so. But they're going to have similar stat lines, to be honest with you. I think however the starting lineup shakes up, or whoever gets the bulk of the minutes, it feels like all of them are within that 15-ish range as far as their production is concerned.
We could see Jaime be at like 15 points per game, 3 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Kel'el is averaging 12 and 9. And then Nico is averaging 12 and 5 and 3. And you're just like, that they're all kind of right in that same zone. I would be surprised if either one of these guys dramatically passes by the other two, right? Like, that would be a pretty big leap from any of them. I think Kel'el will have the best numbers, to your point. I think you might see Nico end up having maybe the most impact on the game in terms of his ability to push tempo and kind of get Miami into offense.
For sure.
And I think Jaime is just going to go. He might have the biggest nights out of all these guys, right? Like, we could go back to his rookie year where you're like, whoa, Jaime had 28 tonight. That's pretty crazy. And looked like a future all-star. So I think they'll all have their moments. They'll all kind of be good in their respective areas, because all three of these players are also dramatically different players, which makes this comparison very hard. But I would be surprised if all of a sudden we're looking at Kel'el Ware and being like, yeah, that's an absolute top 50 player in the NBA after this season, like one of the best, 15 centers in the league. Like, that would be surprising for this stage in his development. Nikola Jović, we like him. Is he going to be a guy who becomes like a high-level rotation guy? I think the Heat hope so, but I don't know if that's necessarily the expectation this year. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe he pops in that way, and ditto for Jaime. So to me, I think all these guys will end up somewhere. I'm going to hedge on this question. I think they all end up somewhere in the same area. Nobody pops to the degree where it's like easily head and shoulders the best one of the three.
If Ware gets 20, 10, and 2 over the course of the start of the season, does he get all-star consideration? He'd have to, right?
Yes.
He'd have to.
100%. 2 being blocks?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. He would make the all-star team.
Debatable, but I think so. I mean, we've made the case for Bam, but I think a lot of it is based on reputation. I think, again, this is how
20, 10, and 2 is all-star numbers. Those are all-star numbers.
I believe it, but at the same time, he would. It might not be enough, but I think at the same time, he'd certainly start to build the case. Yeah. And I think he started to get a lot of belief around the league. People do recognize he's had some big games, and whether it's just a few media members taking note, that's where you start to get those stories. Where
he is the one guy that I'm asked about the most, and I don't know if it's the same for you, but like when people talk to me about they're like, what's the deal with Kel'el? Like, how good is that guy? That's sort of the.
I don't know. Yeah.
Ask Spo. Pat Riley likes to talk about the 20-game mark being a chance to reevaluate the roster, the first 20 games of this season. It's a tough slate. Might not offer a ton of positives. We're going to talk about that and what it could mean for the team before the trade deadline after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Because right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So many different ways to play, and that's why you're going to love FanDuel as much as I do, because you can build parlays, you can try player props, you can even follow the live lines during games, and everybody loves watching all the games, as many as possible right now. Exciting baseball playoffs, the NFL, of course, basketball season's here, hockey's here. Come on, this is the best time of year, and I didn't even mention college football soon. Well, so much to look forward to, and you can follow it all via FanDuel. It makes watching every one of these sports more exciting, especially when you get a little something riding on the action. So what are you waiting for? Go visit FanDuel.com today and download the FanDuel app and get started. That's FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. The best way to support the show is hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us on your favorite podcast app. Our third of our 5 burning questions. Where is this team, realistically, after Pat Riley's 20-game mark? David, you proposed this question. I think you brought it up because Pat Riley tends to talk about that 20-game mark as a reevaluation period for his teams. He likes to get 20 games into the season, take a step back and say, okay, where are we? What is this team about? And we've talked about this before, right? After the schedule was released. This is a tough opening slate for the Heat. This first 20 games is really tough. 21 games, I'll be even more specific. 21 games through the December 1st homestand. So that ends with the Clippers home game on December 1st. It's a nice kind of break point before you head back on the road for Pat Riley to kind of take a step back and look at the roster again.
Yeah.
I went through it. I went through every game. Understanding that Herro's out. I'm going to assume for all of that, by the way. I guess we'll get to that in here in a second. I have them 7-14, 8-13. And I don't think the team's that bad. I just think that the opening part of the schedule is that difficult. Like they jump into a West Coast trip pretty much right away. The Orlando Magic might be one of the best 3 teams in the East. They have them on the road opening night. Yeah. It is a tough schedule. I don't think that this team is that bad. I don't think they're a sub 500 team. But that's how that's I was trying to just be honest going through the start of the schedule. I'm like, yeah. Do they win more than 8 games? I don't know.
It's really tough to gauge, isn't it? I mean, the road is such a challenge for so many teams, and yet this team not much better at home sometimes. And it's hard to kind of predict exactly how things are going to play out. So I'm hoping that they kind of find a way to unite, because it has to be an us versus them mentality, us versus the world. Because I don't know what it is that drives this group, but it has to be something. And if I was Spo, I would be using every ounce of bulletin board material available. I'll put some out to you. This team sucks. They're not going to win of anything. 8-13. Are you crazy? They might be twice as many wins as they actually
get. You guys are
nothing
season. Without Jimmy Butler. He carried you guys for 5 years. Like that's the motivation.
Yes.
That is the motivation. And I'll tell you that is still motivation. That's still motivation in those rooms. But it's one thing to be motivated. It's another thing to have this schedule. Like I could be motivated to play on this schedule and I wouldn't win a lot of games. Motivation only takes you so far. 9 of their first 21 games are on the road. So you're like, all right, that's not a majority of them. But then look at the home games. You get the Knicks. You get Cleveland twice back to back. You get the Knicks again. You've got Golden State at home. You've got Dallas at home. You've got Milwaukee at home. You've got Detroit at home. You've got the Clippers at home. Like even your home games are against harder teams than your road games are. And then your road games are on the road in San Antonio, 2 games in Los Angeles, in Denver, where nobody wins. You are in New York. You're in Philadelphia. You're in Chicago. I think Philly and Chicago will be better than they were last year. You start the season with 2 games on the road in Orlando and in Memphis. Jaron Jackson Jr. just came back for the Grizzlies. That's not going to be a walkover. I think they win that game, but it's not going to be a walkover. It's a really tough schedule.
I maybe I've been covering the team for too long, and I'm starting to develop Spo-like tendencies and become a basketball sicko. But I love it. It's like, this is it. You got no choice now. You're not going to have any excuse. There's no emotional hangover, like I said in the first segment. This is it. This is your team now. How do you want to carry this? How do you want to handle this? And how do you live up to these challenges? And if you've got the chutzpah, as you like to say, if you got the cojones, go out there and prove it, because there's nothing else left right now.
I don't know if that's cojones.
I don't know.
I appreciate your basketball sicko attitude here. I hate it. I'd rather it be really easy and then get out to a 15-5 start to start the year. Be like, hey, we feel really great about ourselves. Here's the good thing, though.
I'll coast after that. Yeah, 15-5, that would be enough.
December is a lot lighter, and I think they do have a chance to get a lot of these games back in December, and then later on in February and March, it gets a lot softer too. So it could end up benefiting.
That's not how it works. So you know that. The early malaise sets in, and we see it too often. Everybody's a championship contender on media day, and then you start getting punched in the face a lot. You're like, what the hell?
But you can walk. If you walk away from this schedule even close to 500, I think that's a win. Might sound like loser talk, but if you think this is loser talk, people listening, look at the schedule, pull it up. It's brutal, dude. It's all the best teams in the league other than the Thunder.
You gotta be 10-11. You've got to be
if you're 10-11, if you're 9-12, you walk away being like, "Yep, we survived. We got through it." That's it.
The last time I remember,
you get all those games back. By the end of December, you'll be over 500. Everything's fine.
41-41 from the 16-17 season, not going to happen. Like, you know what? You only get one Dion Waiters in your lifetime.
That's true.
We had it that year. Aside from that, like Dwayne Wade carrying this team in 2004. Like, that's not going to happen. Where's the Dwayne Wade on this team that's going to push that over the edge there? So I got a bonus question here that I'm going to spring on you here. I know we're going to move on. The Boston Celtics media recently played the assistant coaches for the Boston Celtics. How do you think that we'd fare? How Miami Heat media would fare against Heat assistant?
Oh my gosh.
Brutal.
So
Right?
I would take the Heat assistant. I would take the Heat coaching staff over the Celtics coaching staff.
Malik Carroll Butler's still in playing shape. Wayne
They have
Ellington's
Wayne
going to
Ellington.
drop 100. Yeah,
Have
Wayne
you
Ellington's
seen
gonna
Wayne
drop 100 on
Ellington?
us. Yeah,
Come on, it's over. It's over. Like
Quinn's still in. Quinn might be older and he's still in game shape.
Goran Dragic is even on the payroll. He'd still end up on the team somehow.
Oh, forget it. No, yeah. If you put Goran in there, forget it. We wouldn't get.
I actually think that the Celtics media contingent isn't bad. Corrales used to play ball. Jay King from the Athletic used to play ball. Like,
yeah,
that's a pretty good squad for a media contingent. Now, I don't want to give him too much credit because next thing you know, John Corrales will be winning Defensive Player of the Year. But I don't think like the Heat. No offense to our fellow Heat media brothers and sisters, it would not be pretty. I think Boston media got 4 points up and lost by like 50.
Yeah, something like that.
It's a lot. That's a lot closer than what what we would do.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play Wayne.
What would your role be?
I don't know. Honestly, at this point, quasi enforcer. I don't even care. Take my credentials away. I'll just throw elbows.
I would start dirty fouling, man. I would just go full like, sorry, I stepped on your Achilles. My bad. That's my bad.
Yeah, we don't need you out there. The season's not hinging on your health.
Caron Butler, you're coaching from a chair this year. Sorry, buddy. Tough juice. We got a couple more questions about Norm Powell, Tyler Herro, Miami's best lineup. We'll get to that after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Wayfair. The holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting, but getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe your serveware needs a refresh, or the guest room could use new bedding. So many different things to choose from. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home holiday ready, from Christmas trees and wreaths, bedding, cookware, and outdoor inflatables. It's your one-stop shop for every room in the house. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection for every style and budget, and with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff. You can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. Believe me, if you're looking to upgrade a room or maybe change your style a little bit, and like I said, try to get ready for the holidays. You're going to have guests and family coming over. You want to just tweak it a little bit. Wayfair makes it so easy and painless, and it gets everything done. The holidays can be a hassle for so many people. This is one way it makes everything easy. So get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less by heading to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Basketball season's officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, prize fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team, and that's where Game Time comes in. It's the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. A friend of mine wanted to get tickets. His daughter's going to be performing at one of the upcoming in-arena entertainments, things going on there, and he wanted to get tickets for the game. I told him, go to Game Time, and that's when he used it, and he downloaded it. It was easy to use, saved money too, because right now you can take all the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time by downloading the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA. Get $20 off your first purchase. Their terms do apply, but that's the code LOCKEDONNBA. Get $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Only at Game Time. We'll be right back.
Did I hear that right? That your friend's daughter is performing at halftime at a Heat game?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And he didn't get free tickets?
No, they don't give me that.
His daughter's performing, and the Heat wouldn't give him free tickets.
It's not halftime. It's like one of those things, like like a local dance crew or something like that. Sometimes they do a pregame, sometimes they do it.
Oh, it's like in the middle of like a quarter break or something.
Timeout. Yeah, exactly.
Is his daughter one of the golden oldies? How old is your friend?
No. 36. I don't say it's
all right. I thought she was like performing the national anthem or something. I was like, come on, Heat, give the guy a break.
The national anthem at halftime. You've been to enough games, you know that they don't do the anthem at halftime. It's like, hey, you've already been here for 25 minutes.
Like Red Panda or something, like whatever. Anyway,
I don't even know how old Red Panda is. Indeterminate age, right? It seems like she's been around forever, and yet she's still youthful looking and amazing.
It's sort of her thing.
Has she been to the arena? Have we experienced Red Panda live? No, man, right? I think I saw it.
She tends to hang on the West Coast.
Okay. I could have
don't
sworn
know
I
if-
saw it in Orlando once, but I don't remember.
Oh, really?
I think so.
We'll get to the bottom of that. Reporting TBD. Couple of speed round questions before we get to something about Miami's best lineup. Does Miami look to trade Norm Powell? Is another question. So Norm Powell, extension eligible. We've been on this basically since they traded for him. I never expected the Heat to offer Norm Powell an extension before the start of the season. It does not seem like they're going to. He's extension eligible through the end of the season, unlike somebody like Tyler Herro and Nikola Jović, for instance. So they have all the time in the world to figure it out. Hey, Powell, how does he look like on the roster? If they like him, they can extend him at the end of the year. If not, they can just let it play out in free agency. It doesn't really matter. In terms of the question, would they look to trade him because his salary is that tradable now because it's not extended, it's just expiring, and he's a good player?
Yeah.
If they're not where they want to be at the deadline, they will get phone calls. I think that's. I don't think they would take long-term money back if that were the thing. Now, let's say there's a superstar that becomes available before the deadline.
Well,
maybe Norm Powell could be part of that trade, but that's kind of a different conversation. So in terms of maybe just selling Powell now and getting something for him before he leaves potentially, right. I don't think that they are looking to do that. I don't think that's part of the plan. But again, if they're 10 games under 500 before the trade deadline, they had to at least take those phone calls because they'll be coming in.
100%. We just talked about the first 21 games being a benchmark that Pat Riley uses, and if they're 11-10 or 10-11 or 8-13 or worse potentially, that's those call. They're going to be making calls. They're not just going to be taking them. They're going to be making calls. So I would think that they'd have to be at least a few games above 500 for them to even just say, you know what, maybe we're not interested. Maybe we think we have something that can make
if they're vying for a top 6 seed, they won't do it.
I'd say it would have to be better than that. Like they'd have to be top 4 in the standings for them to even say, you know what, we're not going to take those calls. We don't want to break up this chemistry because we like what we have. We can weather the storm.
If those calls are basically selling Powell just to get something for him,
yeah,
is that those are the calls we're talking about?
Yeah, that's not worth it to them.
Yeah, I think if they're if this is a top, we see how this front office operates. Playoffs, we're in. That gives us a chance. I don't think they care if they're the 4th seed or the 6th seed as long as they're one of them.
I don't know. That feels like it could be a pretty big gap, especially in this East. Like I don't think they're content with you're the 6th seed by February and you could drop the plan.
But this team is so desperate to make the playoffs that that's what I'm trying to. If they trade Powell, that could drop them into the play-in tournament.
That's fair, but
it's almost more likely that they wouldn't trade him if they're the 6th seed as opposed to the 4th seed.
Maybe we saw what happened last year. Kudos to beat a bad Chicago and Hawks team that didn't really care, only to get historically mollywopped in the first round against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I don't know. Is it worth it to make the playoffs just to do that? I don't think so.
If you're the 6th seed, you don't have to play the Cavaliers. play the 5th seed or whatever. Yeah. Last one, not last one of the speed round here. When will Tyler Herro come back? He says November. They could need him to come back by then, as we already discussed. They shouldn't rush him back. They will not rush him back, to be clear. I still think December is more realistic, but obviously we don't know. Next burning question here, and it's our final one, David. What will Miami's best lineup be? Let's maybe define best. Just like best net rating, best on-off. Like, is that fair? Just like the most productive lineup? Or are we talking about like what they end up starting with, what they end up closing with? What do we like the most? I would say
Tyler.
Probably,
are we counting Tyler in this? Are we counting
Tyler?
I think
like by the end of the year, maybe is a better way to frame it. That's a good point. So like by the end of the year, assuming everybody's healthy, what will Miami's best lineup be? When I considered this question, I just thought about, okay, what's just like the best high minute net rating lineup that they have? Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's the starting lineup of Herro, Powell, Wiggins, Jović, and Bam. I think that's their 5 best players. I know that leaves out Jaime, who we think is going to be a spark plug offensively. I know it leaves out Davion Mitchell, who we know what he's capable of. But I think those 5 have enough offense and defense balance there that they can be a really solid group. And I know that also leaves out Kel'el Ware, who we expect big things from. And yet I just think if you're trying to maximize what you're capable of, he might not necessarily be out there for those stretches. This team needs to play I know you want to see larger players out there. I know you want to see a bigger lineup at times, and that's fine. This group can do that. I just think that you're going to, in order for you to be your best, you need your 5 guys out there that have some versatility to them and can provide those runs offensively that this team is going to need. And that's the group I see being able to do that the most.
So if we just go by on-off numbers, last year, the guys who had the best on-off splits that are still on the roster, obviously, not in any particular order: Bam, Herro, Davion, Drew Smith, Kel'el. Now, they're not going to start that group. They're not going to put Davion Mitchell, Drew, or not, I shouldn't even say start. We're not talking about starting lineups. So just there, I don't ever see them playing Davion Mitchell, Drew Smith, Tyler Herro, Bam, and Kel'el together. That doesn't really make sense as a lineup. Not at least they won't plan for it. Now they also added Norm Powell as their big offseason acquisition. He was one of LA's best guys in terms of on-off splits. He was their 3rd highest guy in on-off numbers last year. So maybe you put Norm Powell in the Drew Smith spot potentially, and then it's Herro, Powell. It's Davion, Herro, Powell, Bam, Kel'el, which I think is a lineup that should be out there. I think that could potentially be their best high-minute lineup.
That's fair.
So you're basically taking Wiggins out and replacing with Davion Mitchell. And I think Wiggins is a better player than Davion Mitchell. But I think what Davion can provide in terms of allowing Tyler Herro and Norm Powell to just be really elite scorers.
That's fair.
It just works a little bit more. It clicks a little bit more than I like the Wiggins group. But again, we're not talking about starting lineup. We're not talking about closing lineup. I also think that we're going to, whether or not Spo goes with Nico or Kel'el in that starting group next to Bam, we're going to see Bam with Ware. And I hope we see it for a lot of minutes, and I think we will. And frankly, I don't think it matters if it starts or not. I think we've paid way too much attention to that. Look at what Houston does with Alperen Şengün. He starts at center. They play a ton of minutes of Şengün with Steven Adams. A ton of minutes. To the point where it is one of their kind of hammer lineups. And if that's what ends up being the Bam Ware group, like a hammer lineup in the middle of the game, just to kind of grind things to a halt and just throw a wrench in the other team's plans, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
The one player we didn't talk about was Nikola Jović, who we think has probably the inside track at starting opening night. Certainly a very good chance. He was not one of Miami's best plus-minus guys last year, but he was one of Miami's best plus-minus guys 2 years ago. So I guess now is a good time to just mention that plus-minus is a very loud and noisy stat that I don't want to base too many decisions off of. But like he was like plus 8.5 2 years ago, and then he was like a minus 1.5 last year. Like it's a lot that goes into these numbers. But if Nico does take that leap, he should probably be a part of their best lineup.
Yeah, I think so. He was in the lineup I mentioned too. So
that's
I
true.
think that's.
Yep. Bonus question here. Would the 2013 Thunder have beaten the Heat if they didn't trade James Harden? And the reason we bring this up is because in the Netflix show Starting Five, Kevin Durant said, was asked some sort of question about this. I haven't watched it. I've just seen the quote that's been making the rounds here. Durant said, "I know Bron and them were happy that we weren't together," referencing James Harden getting traded after the 2012 finals, where obviously the Heat beat the Thunder, a young Thunder team with Durant, Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Serge Ibaka, and Kendrick Perkins. James Harden said, "We were going to win the championship the next season," when talking about getting traded to Houston that summer. A lot of confidence coming out of those former Thunder players. A lot of confidence coming from a guy in James Harden whose playoff shortcomings are pretty definitive of his career. What do you think?
No, I don't think they would have been the Heat. That Heat team was better the next year. 66 and 16. Historically
100%.
good.
Yep.
27-game win streak, better roster, finding their rhythm. LeBron was even better the following year than he had been the previous season when he won MVP. I'm sorry. I don't think Harden would have figured it out. I don't know if they would have gotten past the Spurs.
Wait, how do you know Harden wouldn't have figured it out? Is it because he still hasn't figured it out 15 years into his career? I don't know why you would say something like that.
I mean, he was so shaken in the 2012 finals. I don't know that he would have gotten it the next year either. And again, like I said, I don't even know if they would have gotten past the Spurs. Like they would have just sicked Kawhi Leonard on him, and he would have. I don't know that he would have been able to do anything. Like they might not have beaten the Spurs.
They would have lost the Spurs 100%. That Spurs team was awesome. They're not beating the Spurs team.
And we know how Miami handled it. So, I mean, they wound up winning Game 7. So, thank you, Ray Allen. But, yes, I think they still would have won that series.
It's a dumb thing to say. They shouldn't have said it. It's loser talk. And I'm glad James Harden and Kevin Durant didn't end up getting traded here. Okay, I went too far. Sorry. But no, the Heat would have won in 2013. Get out of here. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. That's it for us this week. Next week, we have bold predictions to start the week. We've got our big preview crossover episode with Philip Rossman-Reich of Locked On Magic to preview opening night. And then we got games. Regular season basketball that matters, and hopefully some credit cookies. That's all coming up next week. Have a great weekend. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day.